This is CBS News New York.
He thought that by killing them, he could silence them forever and get away with murder. But he was wrong.
Right now at 4, a dramatic confession to a case that gripped Long Island. Rex Heuermann admits to murdering 8 women.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving a number of very important rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
The architect who led a secret life as a serial killer, unemotional as he faced a judge. Families speaking out behind tears about the loved ones they lost.
Justice has finally found its way to you. Your voice was never silenced, your story never forgotten, and your life will always be more than the tragedy that took you.
Investigators cracking the case with DNA lifted from leftover pizza crust. Heuermann's arrest and now his guilty plea, bringing an end to the horror spanning more than 30 years.
I think that this today gave hopefully some peace and some closure to the family members.
Special breaking news coverage of the Gilgo Beach serial killer begins right now. And good afternoon. I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Dick Brennan. The Gilgo Beach case was an exhaustive investigation that spanned more than a decade.
And a string of unsolved crimes known as the Gilgo Beach killings tormented victims' relatives and captivated the public. Now, Rex Heuermann has pleaded guilty to murdering 7 women. The 62-year-old architect also admitting to the murder of an 8th woman. Some of their deaths dating back to the 1990s. His punishment at his sentencing set for June, life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Heuermann gave gruesome details to the Suffolk County DA, admitting he strangled all 8 of his victims and dismembered them, wrapping their bodies in burlap before dumping them. Their remains scattered in remote locations on the Gilgo Beach area. We have team coverage for you this afternoon. Allie Bauman is in Massapequa Park with how the community is reacting. Jennifer McLogan and Carolyn Gussoff have covered this case for years. Jennifer is hearing from families today who have been waiting for justice. But we begin with Carolyn, who was in court when Heuermann entered his guilty plea. Carolyn, good evening.
Dick, they were words we thought we might never hear. Guilty, said over and over again from the mouth of Rex Heuermann in court today, ending years of mystery, speculation, and fear. He admitted that he is the serial killer responsible for killing 8 women that baffled law enforcement for decades.
Have you had enough time to discuss this case with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
After discussions with your lawyer, you feel it's in your best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Carolyn. Inside the packed courtroom, just feet from victims' families and his own family, the hulking 62-year-old confidently and matter-of-factly answered each question put to him in rapid-fire succession by the prosecutor, stating that he murdered 8 women, the method strangulation, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, Melissa Barthelemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Sandra Castilla, Jessica Taylor, and Valerie Mack. And he added Karen Vergata, the 34-year-old who disappeared in 1996. He's not even charged with Vergata's death, but he admitted it as part of a plea deal. It's a deal that does not change the outcome of his prison sentence, life in prison that will be without parole. But no one else will be prosecuted for these crimes. And he did agree to cooperate with FBI behavioral analysts. In other words, people who study the minds of serial killers.
This defendant walked among us, play acting as a normal suburban dad, when in reality, all along, he was obsessively targeting innocent women for death.
There came a point in this defense where Rex said, I want to plead guilty. And it was at that point when we really had an objective of protecting his interests. He certainly wanted to save the families of the victims, the ordeal of going to trial, and coupled with saving his family that ordeal.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their loss is immeasurable, and the focus should be on them at this time and moment.
them without elaboration. The only details that Heuermann actually admitted to, he said that he contacted his victims with burner phones and he lured them with promises of money. He said that he agreed to the fact that he killed them, dismembered them, and bound them with burlap. Heuermann will be sentenced on June 17th, and his attorney says that he does expect him to say a few words in open court. He will be serving 3 consecutive life terms without the chance of parole and another 4 consecutive 25 years to life. So obviously never will see the light of day. The district attorney says this was not a plea deal in the formal sense, in that he will not be receiving anything in exchange. And the DA also made a point that any suggestion that all these years that these victims were forgotten, he said nothing could be further from the truth, that this was years in the making and a cast of more than 1,000 people who brought Rex Heuermann to justice. And now joining me is Jennifer McLogan, my colleague here on Long Island for so many years. We have both covered this, Jennifer. Unbelievable that we're standing here today with a guilty plea. Did you ever think that he would plead guilty? I mean, it's not common that a serial killer goes down without a fight. And to just cave in, what do you think changed his mind?
Well,
excuse me, it's windy out here.
He's so full of himself, as we discussed before. I can't imagine that he's doing this to spare the victims' families, although that is what he's purporting is his reason. We kind of were discussing this before among you and I and some of our colleagues, that perhaps he's sick of being in solitary confinement and wants to get into a real prison.
Right, it's hard to believe, but actually the Suffolk County Jail, he's got less time or more time in solitary than upstate. That could be part of it.
Yeah, they wanted to keep him from the other the rest of the population.
Inmates, yeah.
Also, his daughter and his ex-wife, maybe he wanted to spare them, but the sad part is now the victims' families won't be able to hear him publicly.
That's true.
Acknowledge and confess.
That's definitely a point, that some of these details, I mean, we saw in the planning document, I mean, just such diabolical details of how he planned this and carried it out, that maybe he really didn't want some of these details revealed. It's hard to imagine that somebody like this would have a conscience. Now, I don't know if you'd call it a conscience, or have any sense of not wanting to be embarrassed, but didn't want embarrassing details revealed, perhaps.
Perhaps, but I know he has talked before with some of the people who visited him, of 1 or 2 friends, and they felt that he likes to be the top cheese, and maybe that will happen if he gets to prison and gets into the general population. You know, today we were victims, with the victims that just left the courtroom, and we want to talk about that angle of the story a little bit, because they came from upstate and all over to talk about these 8 women, because they had hopes and dreams, these 8 victims, their lives cut short violently and suddenly. Families waiting for resolution, waiting years for justice. It was so very sad. It began so painfully for them with today's guilty plea. Are they spared this gut punch of a trial, or we talked before? Do we wish that Rex Heuermann would get his public reckoning and admit his double life and the sadistic tortures that he committed? The serial case would not have been solved without the full cooperation of the victims' families. And a short time ago, the district attorney talked about the importance of them in this grieving process.
First and foremost, we are thankful for the victims and the victims' families who told their stories, their loved ones' stories, and defended their loved ones' legacies.
Today is not about the person responsible. Today is about the women's lives who were stolen. It is about their voices, their future, and their families, the love that still surrounds them. They are the reason why we are here.
Liliana Waterman. I am the daughter of Megan Waterman, and on behalf of her and my aunt and all of our family back home, we do accept, and we are very, very thankful for everything that they've done for us.
so much emotion, 8 families coming together in such tragedy when the world really seemed to give up on them. But of course, law enforcement did not, and they feel that this is a day of great pride for them, with hopes that other cold cases could still be solved. We discussed the fact, Carolyn, that there are still other cases out there. The district attorney said for sure Rex Heuermann is the only one responsible for these 8. No one else will be tried for these 8, but there are still other cases that could be brought up.
That's right. That's right. When you know, there were 10 sets of remains found at near Gilgo Beach, and now he's admitting to responsibility of really 7 of them, because an 8th was not left at Gilgo Beach. So there's still a couple of remains there. You know,
and we know that in his early days, 1993 to 1996, he was elsewhere. He was far on the East End, and he was upstate, so we just don't know.
Right. So, right, quite a monumental day, as will be June 17th when he is sentenced.
And Carolyn, really want to ask you, you know, a lot of you watched this case decades now, okay? And critics have said it was botched pretty badly for a long time. What would have been the turnaround, tipped the scale for investigators? Was there a moment, was there a point where someone said, hey, we got to do it this way?
Well, yeah, I mean,
maybe
several turning points. Yeah, several turning points in bringing together, you know, a task force. I mean, certainly when leadership changed at the Suffolk Police Department, the FBI was brought in, but that was still many years ago. But if you remember, Jennifer, there was a state police trooper who was going over cold case files and who discovered a vehicle, a strange vehicle, a unique vehicle, a green Chevy Avalanche that one of the victim's roommates recalled seeing. The person who picked her up, this escort,
and
that
someone
night,
had bungled that from the beginning, because that evidence had been right there all along. And then
in a file.
When Rodney Harrison and others took over the case and brought in the FBI, and there was then cooperation with state, federal, and local authorities, they said, yes, this is such an important clue, and they were able to get to him.
Right, so that Chevy Avalanche, that was such a unique vehicle that was seen so many years ago, actually is the same make and model that Rex Heuermann drove. And once they were able to pinpoint that, you know, there was a suspect in Massapequa Park, that led to then, you know, triangulating cell phone calls that the escorts, these sex workers, were last seen.
And the evidence
using.
then seemed to mount against him, especially when they went into the basement and got the documents.
Of course, all the digital documents, so damning.
Carolyn and Jennifer, thank you both for your perspectives. We're going to continue our coverage now. These guilty pleas also offer some closure for people who live in Heuermann's Nassau County neighborhood.
Allie Bauman continues our coverage live from Massapequa Park. Allie, what can you tell us?
Well, Dick and Christine, I have to tell you, it feels weird to be here today. The last time I was here was about 3 years ago, right after Rex Heuermann was arrested. And at that point, this neighborhood was a media frenzy. I mean, police up and down the block, media from all over the world. And today it has been eerily quiet, especially when his 2 children came out of the house just a short time ago. Rex Heuermann's daughter and stepson packed up the family therapist's car after court Wednesday, leaving their home temporarily. The decaying red ranch house in the middle of a manicured suburban block of Massapequa Park had always stood out to neighbors, especially given the owner, Rex Heuermann, was an acclaimed architect. After his arrest in 2023, it became the center of a media frenzy as investigators dug up the backyard. And today's guilty plea brings some closure to both Heuermann's children and neighbors.
Like everything else, right? They're having a hard time, but they accept it and they're okay with it, and they will figure it out. They don't have a choice, so they're okay.
I think he did the right thing, because if they go to court, it's going to be dragged on and on and on and on, and all the victims are going to be heartful. So, what are you going to do?
And residents out here told me that they are hopeful now that the neighborhood can get back to some kind of normalcy, that they can move on with their lives, and they're hopeful to see what happens with this house. Christine and Dick?
All great questions there, Allie. Thank you.
Our special coverage continues. Heuermann preyed on vulnerable women, many of them sex workers. Coming up, we speak with an anti-human trafficking advocate about this case.
And what exactly drives a serial killer? We'll examine the investigation with a former FBI profiler who has worked on some of the most notorious cases in the country. Stay with us. Welcome back to our special coverage here of the Gilgo Beach murder cases and the guilty plea today from Rex Heuermann. To break this case down even further, we're joined by two experts, Rodney Harrison, he's the former police commissioner for Suffolk County, and also for some legal analysis, we're joined by trial attorney Richard Schoenstein. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us here this afternoon. Rodney, let's start with you from a law enforcement perspective. Was justice reached today?
Absolutely, and it's a very rewarding moment for the rank and file in Suffolk County Police Department, the investigators that really were able to bring this case home. But it's also a point of being an advocate for the victims, and that's one of the pride that we do when we go into law enforcement, making sure that we are a voice for victims and holding people accountable and making sure we're helping people through very difficult times. So this is a big day, not just for the families, but for the rank and file in Suffolk County.
Now, speaking of the victims, we were just discussing this, that Heuermann's attorney said, Rich, that he was doing it for the families. That seems like quite the reach for a guy who just did what he did. Why would he have taken a plea deal after everyone just expected he was going to take this to trial?
We will never know for sure why he did it, any more than we'll ever know for sure why he committed these crimes in the first place, which is impossible to understand. It could have been because the case was insurmountable. The way the case played out, some of the developments in the legal proceedings, I don't think he had any shot at an acquittal at all. It could have been to protect his own family more than to protect the families of the victims, because maybe he didn't want all of the details coming out in open court in front of his daughter, in front of his ex-wife.
But they were there today.
They were.
And they watched as he pleaded guilty to these charges. Rodney, let's look at the future. What happens next? I mean, we heard from Carolyn and also from Jennifer there from their reporting that he has agreed to work with law enforcement on other serial killer cases.
Yeah, and I want to thank Jennifer for the shout out, but the truth of the matter is the investigation is not done, and you just got to take a look at the time frame from between 1993 to 2010. 8 bodies that are connected to him. Are those the only bodies that are out there? Are there other bodies in Long Island or maybe even the state of New York that may be connected to him? So he's a calculating killer. The way he was able to dismember bodies and put them in different locations, be it Fire Island, be it Ocean Parkway, be it out in the North Sea. This is something where the task force needs to continue and maybe even expand to take a closer look at any sex worker that's missing and see if that person may be connected to Rex Heuermann or some other killer that may be out there.
There are those who say in this day and age with DNA, cell phone towers pinging, that the serial killers may be soon out of business. Witness Rex Heuermann, how was he caught? Maybe a pizza box involved. Rich, from a legal perspective, do you see investigations being a lot, I'm not going to say easier, but a lot quicker for these types of cases?
You would hope so. I mean, there's so much more technology to throw at a case like this than there was certainly in 1993 when the first of these crimes were committed, or even in 2010. You think about this case, though, it involved dogs finding body remains. It involved finding evidence on thrown-out pizza crust. I mean, some of this was technology, but a lot of it is good old-fashioned footwork by dedicated people doing their job, tracking down clues. And so hopefully the technology makes that easier, but you still need the people committed to finding the evidence.
You know, when it comes down to making that final decision, and you might be more equipped to answer this, how much influence does an attorney have with their client? I'm thinking of all of the evidence that was laid out, compelling evidence. Was there a moment, do you believe, possibly, that his attorney said, listen, This is it.
To me, the two most significant developments in the case were the decision by the judge to allow all 7 murders to be tried at the same time instead of 7 separate trials. That made it a much more compelling case. And the decision that the new DNA evidence would be allowed into the trial after a hearing on that last year, that made the case at trial really insurmountable. And as an attorney, I tell my client when you have no chance of winning. And then at the end of the day, it's the client's decision. But the job of the attorney is to give them the facts and give them the options.
Rodney Harrison, Richard Schoenstein, thank you both for joining us.
Coming up, the Gilgo Beach case gained momentum when a new police commissioner arrived. Coming up, we'll hear from Geraldine Hart, the crucial decision she made to help reinvigorate the investigation. The Long Island architect led a secret double life as a serial killer, and today he pleaded guilty to murdering 7 women, admitting to killing an 8th.
Wearing a black suit coat and white button-down shirt, Heuermann appeared unemotional as he answered questions from the judge. Authorities say the women, many of them sex workers, were killed over a 17-year span. Their bodies buried in remote locations, including along an isolated beach highway across the bay from where he lived. Heuermann's attorney said today's plea was his decision.
Attorneys, we've counseled him, we've advised him, but that decision is ultimately up to the defendant. He controls his case, and that's his prerogative, that's his right, and that's what happened here today.
Following his plea, families of the Gilgo Beach victims spoke out. Melissa Kahn, the sister of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, says today wasn't about Heuermann, but about the lives taken and the legacy left behind.
Today is not about the person responsible. Today is about the women's lives who were stolen. It is about their voices, their future, and their families, the love that still surrounds them. They are the reason why we are here. This has been a long journey of hope that one day we would stand here and say her name with justice beside it.
Heuermann will be sentenced in June to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
We know for years now the name Gilgo Beach has been synonymous with the horrific and unsolved murders of young women.
Ali Bauman takes a look at the many twists and turns in this case that really gripped the country.
Our story begins with Shannon Gilbert. In May of 2010, the 23-year-old sex worker disappeared one night after making a frantic 911 call.
Somebody out there. Where are you, ma'am? I don't know.
She had been at a client's home on Long Island, she told the operator, and believed someone was after her. Gilbert was never seen alive again.
This case has haunted us all for years.
Along with her determined family, police spent 7 months searching Suffolk County for the missing woman, until finally, canine units found human remains near Gilgo Beach. But it wasn't Shannon Gilbert, rather the bodies of 4 other women. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Amber Costello, Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthélemy, soon coined the Gilgo 4. All were petite, in their 20s, and had been working as online escorts before disappearing.
It fits within the known definition of what a serial killer would be.
Investigators widened their search.
We're basically looking for anything that nature did not put there.
I can remember covering the search near Gilgo Beach in the dead of the winter, and it was frightening to be down there. You know, we'd be there in the dark and you didn't know who to trust.
By the following spring, they had found 6 more sets of human remains in the Gilgo Beach area. 10 total victims, some of their deaths dating back to the 1990s. Investigators were stumped. Was this the work of one serial killer or many?
This is evil. This is an evil place.
In December 2011, police found Shannon Gilbert's body in a marsh miles away from Gilgo Beach. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning.
If they started the search early and continued it longer than they did the first time, we would have found her sooner, and this case would be so much farther ahead.
Still no closer to uncovering the truth, the Gilgo investigation stalled.
The victims' families were very frustrated because of the infighting. They felt that the FBI, Suffolk police, county police, sheriff's department. They were now all on the same page. They were all fighting with each other over territory.
Then Suffolk Police Chief James Burke had blocked the FBI from the case. They did not join the investigation until 2015, after Burke was indicted on unrelated conspiracy charges, releasing his stranglehold on the police department. Still, progress was slow.
Through the years, I would say law enforcement did not lose hope, but citizens did.
The mystery took a turn in February 2022. A new Suffolk County Police Commissioner, Rodney Harrison, formed a task force devoted to cracking the case.
We are making real progress.
1 year later, the summer of 2023, police took Rex Heuermann into custody, charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The 59-year-old married father of two was an acclaimed Manhattan architect.
I think it's taught me more about how to understand people.
Investigators searched his decaying home, right in the middle of a manicured Massapequa Park neighborhood.
When you found out that your neighbor here was arrested for this, what did you think?
It was a shock, but he was a weirdo, you know.
Leading to the arrest, the task force had unearthed clues from a decade prior, including descriptions from Costello's former roommate of an ogre-like man driving a Chevy Avalanche, the same car that 6'4" Heuermann drove. Working with the FBI, investigators traced the burner phone that was used to contact the Gilgo 4 back to a cell tower near Massapequa Park. While detectives were tailing their suspect, the smoking gun came in the form of a pizza box that Heuermann had thrown into a Midtown Manhattan trash can. Police used it to match his DNA to hair that was found on one of the victims' bodies. Heuermann was eventually also charged with the murders of Maureen Brainard Barnes and 3 other women, including the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla. Throughout it all, he pleaded not guilty to all the charges. That was until Wednesday.
Certainly it's better for prosecutors not to have a trial. They don't have to worry about appeal.
Is it to spare his family? Is it to spare himself?
We may never know for certain why Heuermann decided to change his plea, nearly 3 years after his arrest and 33 years after his first accused kill. But across Gilgo Beach and all of Long Island, there is a sigh of relief. Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
We have the answers now, but there's a feeling that we still don't know what all the questions are. And to help us out now, joining us now is former Suffolk County Police Commissioner and former head of the FBI's Long Island office, Geraldine Hart. Geraldine, you're the first female Suffolk County Police Commissioner. First of all, before we get to the nitty-gritty here, seeing a day like today, after what you went through, investigating this case, what's your reaction to the guilty plea and what it means to the family and people in law enforcement?
Absolutely. And what an important day today was. Just some measure of accountability for these families who never gave up. I mean, that was so clear throughout this entire investigation and really was showcased today. These families deserved answers and they deserved some sort of closure. And my hope is that they got it today.
You know, in Allie's report, we heard from Jennifer McLogan, who's been covering this case now for years, and she mentioned how the families, before this case started to regain traction, how the families were becoming frustrated because there was so much infighting, it appeared, between the different law enforcement agencies. But then when you came in, you made some changes. Tell us about that.
So I really was in a unique position coming over from the FBI over to the Suffolk County Police Department. We had been reinvited back into the case. So we really were bringing all of our resources to bear at that point. And it really was just really one team, one fight. I mean, we saw that on display today with the DA's joint task force team, what that means and how that's successful. There is rarely a case that has worked successfully without all of the partners rowing in the same direction.
And speaking of that, I think one of the crucial moments was when you were so-called reinvestigating the case, and an investigator found a quote from one of those witnesses who talked about that green Avalanche that Heuermann was allegedly driving. It just gave you the feeling that one tiny little scrap made all the difference in the world. Is that the way it happened?
That's the way it is. And I mean, people talk about a large investigation, complex investigation like this as finding a needle in a haystack. But what it really is a puzzle, right? And you put together all of these pieces over the years, and then it's just that one piece that you need to finish the picture. And that was really miraculous on their part.
Would this case have been as strong without the new DNA technology that is available today that wasn't available in the past?
It's really amazing, right? Just the changes in technology that are happening at such a fast pace. You know, we think back to the first murder and the first remains that were found in 1993. Nobody really had a cell phone back then. All of the changes that have occurred over the years from then, including genetic genealogy, which was unique and was able to assist us in identifying Jane Doe number 6, who was Valerie Mack, and giving some sort of peace to her family. And then all the way through, as you said, the DNA cutting edge technology and what that means, not only for today in this investigation, but what does it mean in the future? And all of those cases that may be solved and all of those families that may receive justice.
You know, we hear about these cases, the Guthrie case, where they say the FBI should have come in sooner. We certainly hear the criticism of this case that the agencies didn't work quickly enough together. Why does this keep happening? I mean, is this something that is always a constant problem in these investigations?
You know what? It spans such a large time frame, and you have such different leadership folks coming in and out, and also the continuity sometimes, you know, is affected by that. But really, people that are in these large-scale investigations, people who are in this business for a long time, know the value of just working together and the partnerships. It's just so important, and just kind of putting your egos aside and getting the job done. And we saw that again on display today. Really amazing stuff.
Geraldine Hart, we hope your shoulders are feeling a little lighter today as we have some conclusion now with this guilty plea. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
She put it so well, putting your egos aside, really. Anyway, extraordinary.
Yes. Our coverage on the Gilgo Beach serial killer does continue. Up next, we speak with a former FBI profiler about the mind behind the crimes. Welcome back to special coverage of the Gilgo Beach serial killer. It took decades for investigators to track down Rex Heuermann, a man who lived a seemingly normal life in Nassau County.
Joining us now to offer more insight into one of the methods used to finally catch him is Mary Ellen O'Toole. She's a former senior FBI profiler and very experienced in this field. Mary Ellen, thank you so much for joining us. We're not overstating it to say that Rex Heuermann was hiding in plain sight, literally living a double life, going to work in Manhattan, coming home to Long Island. Can you please help us understand how someone can compartmentalize things?
Well, he's probably not compartmentalizing anything, but we might be. So my experience with serial sexual killers, which is what Rex is, they kill for sexual purposes. They're sexually aroused by their behavior, not to be too graphic. But there are some, like Rex, who live what is called a pro-social life. They have a job, they have a family, they appear to do everything the right way. So they live a pro-social life. Those individuals tend to go for a much longer time without being detected or identified. And then you compare that with other serial sexual killers who don't live a pro-social life. So they may be out committing other crimes and they come to the attention of law enforcement much more quickly. Rex lived a pro-social life. So that's really one of the reasons he was able to go without notice for a long period of time.
You know, we heard from some of our reporters earlier in this broadcast about the ego that Rex Heuermann has and that some serial killers have. What are your thoughts about him coming to this decision to plead guilty to these murders?
Well, I would say, based on my experience, because I did work in the serial killer unit of the behavioral analysis unit, so worked hundreds of serial murder cases, serial sexual killers tend to have very psychopathic traits. The old term was sociopath. We threw that out in 1968. So psychopathic individuals, it's all about them. They don't think about their victims. They can come and they can cry in front of you and seem like they're sad. They can even say that they're concerned about their family. They are not. They are concerned about one person, and that's them. And so if he decided to go ahead and plead, it was for his own personal reasons. It could have been he just didn't want to articulate in the courtroom what he had done. He may not wanted to have shared information, not that he's embarrassed by his behavior. It could have been that he's reserving that information for later on, but it should not be confused with him caring about the victims or even caring about his family. It's all about Rex.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and Mary Ellen, the other thing I think a lot of people are thinking about is not only that there may be more victims out there, but there may be more Rex Heuermanns out there. Based on your experience, do you get the sense that because of the greater law enforcement techniques, it's a lot harder to get away with this stuff?
It is, and we've seen a decline in serial murder really since the 90s, and it's really been replaced, unfortunately, by mass shootings. But I think one of the reasons that we've seen a decline in these cases is because we have such advanced forensic science, which identifies them much sooner.
You know, we said earlier that he agreed to help law enforcement with other serial killer cases. Do you feel as though that he is open to that, and will he do it willingly and actually truthfully?
Great question. He will do it willingly because it's part of the plea agreement. Will he be truthful? Psychopaths are part of their personality is that they are pathological liars. So they lie about everything. So the agents will have a challenge. I know the agents, they will do a great job. When I've interviewed serial killers, what you think will be an hour interview can turn into 3 weeks because they will completely turn around their story the day after they tell it to you. So they will be patient, they will persevere, and they will go over all the documents with Rex, and they will point out all the inconsistencies. Will the agents walk away at the end with 100% accurate information? No. But that doesn't mean the agents will go away forever either. They will stay in touch with him to make sure they can identify any other victims. And there are other victims out there.
That is the most frightening part of this whole thing. Mary Ellen O'Toole, thank you so much for giving us your expertise. It is really appreciated.
You're welcome.
Rex Heuermann has pleaded guilty to murdering 7 women and admitting to killing an 8th.
This afternoon, we remember the women, the victims at the center of the case, each with a story, each deeply missed by the people who love them. Sandra Castalia was 28 years old, a woman from Trinidad and Tobago whose life ended far from home. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, a 25-year-old mother of 2 from Norwich, Connecticut. She worked to keep a roof over her family's head, returning to sex work after falling behind on bills.
Melissa Bartholomew, 24 years old from Erie County. She was living in the Bronx at the time and just trying to make ends meet. Megan Waterman, 22 years old from Maine, a mother to a 3-year-old daughter at the time, whose family grew worried when she suddenly stopped checking in.
And then Amber Costello, 27, from West Babylon. Her family believed that she was in treatment and didn't know that she was missing until it was too late. Valerie Mack, 24, living in Philadelphia, a mother whose disappearance was never reported after a life that included time in foster care.
And Jessica Taylor was 20 years old, living in Manhattan when her life was ultimately cut short by a monster, Rex Heuermann. And today we learned of Karen Vergata, 34, from Manhattan. She went unidentified for nearly 3 decades, known only as Jane Doe, until science helped identify her.
8 women, not just victims, but daughters, mothers, and people who mattered.
And their family that we saw today, just extraordinary. Stay with us for continuing coverage on the Gilgo Beach serial killer's guilty plea. You can also see a full timeline of events at our website, cbsnewyork.com.